Hi, welcome to my channel, Budget Audio Review. Now today's a really niche video, so any of my subs that's come over just to watch this hasn't got this unit. And I know I've got a few regular followers now that's come over and pretty much watch anything I put out. So I do thank them because obviously every view counts, every penny counts. You know, I get paid for doing this, not a lot through YouTube, but every penny counts and helps me buy some extra equipment, some extra stuff to review, and hopefully somewhere along the line I'm helping someone maybe decide on something to buy, or maybe one of the repairs I'm doing may help someone along the line who may want to attempt it for the first time. So you know, it all counts, it really does. So I'll say thank you very much for coming along and watching this video. Now today, like I say, it's a video about this little chip that comes in these Akai machines, these 4000 machines, these real recorders. It comes in another couple of models I think of then as well, and it probably comes in some other equipment. I mean, Sanyo wouldn't have just made this chip, I don't think, just for Akai. They probably incorporate it in other units that I know nothing about maybe, but you may have one of these units that's called intermittent. Sometimes it plays back or sometimes it records. It may be a bit noisy, maybe getting a lot of noise on the channel or something like that, or completely dead. So you know, it could be down to one of these chips. It's a common fault on this particular machine, these 4000 dBs, these 4000 DSs in the 4000 range anyway. Not easy to get hold of now. There is still a few floating around, mainly in the US, that you can buy, and they're about £18–20 UK money in the US. There is a guy at the moment, I think, selling these here in the UK, who's got a couple left for about £25 each. But you can make up a little circuit yourself. There's a few of them floating around the internet. You can make up on a little bit of Vero board, which I've done here. And there's also a guy here in the UK called, let's just make sure I've got his name, Real to Real UK, that sells a board made up. He's made it himself, or a little kit that you can make yourself. So that's what I want to talk about today, is my attempt of making one of these boards, following just one of the circuits. Like I say, it's probably 5 or 6 different circuits on the internet. Real to Real UK little board that's already installed in here, but I'll show you that as we go along. I want to show you a video of me actually put it together, though the camera angle is atrocious. I don't know what I was thinking. I stuck the camera in one position and it wasn't really the right position. You may just get an odd joint where I've you know, managed to do the solder joint. You may just see an odd one here and there. I do switch the camera a bit late on in the video, but you may want to skip that. I'm going to put down the bottom in the captions now where to skip the video if you don't want to watch me making that board up. Okay, first of all, this video, I won't be doing this video. I'm going to have to plug Mike at Racing Demon 6464. I'm going to put a little caption down below to his site that pretty much is keeping this machine alive, to be honest with you, because he sent another head unit over. This head unit, you know, it's on its way out. I think it's been played quite a lot of times, I would have thought. The eyes are not, you know, I'm not quite getting the eyes that I should do out of this machine when I compare it with the 4000 DS that I've got. He sent me a complete new edge unit. If I take this off here, which is this unit here, he sent me a complete new one. Hopefully I'm going to fit it in this machine very, very soon and come back. And while he did that, he also sent me a few CDs over recently as well with that unit by Unicom. So if you're into, you know, a band you've probably never heard of here in the UK, Unicom, go over and check Mike's channel out. More info there, a lot more info that I'm going to give. But yeah, I've been listening to the band and I've been really enjoying them, to be honest with you. So anyway, it wouldn't be possible for Mike, because I would have pretty much used this as a scrap machine, which I started to do before he sent me the head over. I actually took the IC out of this machine into the other machine because one of the channels was dead, but it was a better machine, so obviously I was going to use this as a donor, but that's no longer the case. I want to get this one going again now I've got that head unit. So I made my own little board up following one of the circuits on the internet, and to be honest with you, when I first put it in there, I thought, oh, it's alright, it works, that's good. I tried it on the record side. I thought, this is fantastic, it's all working, that's great, you know, it's really good. But after listening to it a little bit, something weren't quite right, and on closer inspection, the bass, on the heavy bass, on the lower end of the bass, it was just a little bit distorted, just a little bit of distortion there, and I thought, oh dear, a little bit of distortion. Not at the end of the world, you can put up with it really, like, you know, if you're going to sit back, relax and just listen to it and not get too involved, too critical about it, you know, it'd be okay kind of thing. But if you're talking, you know, if you're seeking out a bit more perfection, you're thinking, oh, that isn't great. And like I say, there's about 5 different circuits of this little board that you can make up, and a little bit of Vero board. So I thought, shall I make another one up but then I see this bloke on eBay selling these little kits that he's made up. He said he's made 4 or 5 different revisions of this. I think he said something like that anyway. So he's been tinkering around with the board, obviously getting it to perfection. And it wasn't dear. I bought the little kit version. Now the kit version, if you just stick a little picture up of the actual advert here on eBay, should I say. As you can see, it's £13, I think, a couple of pound postage, something like that in the UK to get a kit version, or you can get it ready assembled for £17. Now, he hasn't given me this kit. I've gone and bought this kit. He doesn't even know I'm doing this video, so I've got no ties with this bloke at all. I'm going to give you an honest opinion of how his board is compared to mine, compared to the original chip as well, how it actually sounded. So this is an honest opinion. Yeah, so I got his kit. I thought I'll stick it together. I'll do the kit version. I thought, now, it does warn you in the advert that that kit version, if you make any mistakes and it doesn't work or anything like that, there's no refunds kind of thing. So be careful when doing that kit. I would say it's tricky. It's not an easy kit for a beginner, let's put it that way. I've got a bit more experience, so it wasn't too bad for me. Even though when I started to do the kit, I used a very, very fine piece of solder that I had laying about, a reel of it, and I don't think there's much flux going on in that solder. Because it didn't start off too well, so I actually swapped reels of solder, and I haven't got it here, but I'm going to put a picture up of the reel that I'm using. That's the reel of solder I finally used to put the kit together with a little 30-watt iron, just a very fine tip 30-watt iron, because some of them joints, especially on the transistors, them soldering points are very, very close to each other, very, very close indeed. But if you've got a bit of solder braid, something like this, so if you went on from one track to the other, you could also pull it back off with a bit of solder braid or a solder sucker, something like that. But I'd say that it's for a kind of intermediate kind of level person. So if you're new to soldering, for the extra £4 he charges, I think you should just get a pre-made kit. So then you've got a guarantee as well with that. So if you put it in your machine, it didn't work, or you thought it should work with that kit, and it still didn't work, and he's done a mistake he's in, you could probably send it back, something like that. So if you're not into it, into the soldering part of it, I'd get a pre-made for extra £4. It's going to save you hassle as well, because let's face it, when you get it, you probably don't want to make a kit up. You probably just want to think, let's just get it in there and get my machine up and running. So let's just show you a little video here. This little video I'm going to show you is my board fitted, like I say, but once fitted, it just had that little bit of distortion that I wanted to get rid of in the lower end. It was only tiny, but it was there. I could hear it, and once you hear it, it's going to kind of bug you a little bit, I think. So about 4 or 5 circuits of these, is it really worth the hassle going through the 4 or 5 trying to find out the one that works properly, or are they all faulty? Like, you know what I mean, everyone who makes these circuits said, oh, it sounds fine after that, but I followed the instruction of one of them, and all I can think of is maybe this board is a little bit too big. It's picking up a little bit of interference, where this board from Reel to Reel UK, it uses a multi-layer board apparently. It's about 3/4 the size of this. It's more compact, and maybe it's not picking up so much interference that's causing that bass to kind of distort. So that's that little video here of me with my old board in there. Now I'm going to show you swapping it over for the little board that I bought off of Reel to Reel UK. So let's just play that video. There's my board that I made up, connected to the Reel to Reel tape recorder. As you can see, them legs are a little bit long maybe. I could probably pull them a little bit tighter, just make sure none of them short out, but there is room there anyway. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, as you can see from another angle, and there's looking top down, and there it is compared to the LD3141 IC with a yellow arrow pointing to it. As you can see, the size difference. Now I'm going to take my board out. There it is, taken out, and I'm going to fit this new board. So there's the new board fitted. We'll just do a few different angles there. As you can see, this is a little bit more neater than my one, that's for certain. The legs are more shorter, more tighter, and they fit in the holes much better. They're spaced out more nicely to my one. And if you compare it, there's the board with the red arrow compared to the IC that it's replacing on another channel with the yellow arrow. So that's that fitted. So there's the video of me actually fitting that board in the machine. And if you are going to have the kit, it does give you full instructions. Actually, that picture on eBay just shows you a little bag, but it does give you full instructions, and if you follow them, they're fairly straightforward. Everything's listed. It's really easy to follow, really. I don't think you're going to have any problems if you want to make it yourself. As long as you just, you're not a newbie to soldering, as I think you may have a few problems. If you're intermediate, that's going to be fine, that kit. But if not, buy one that's already made, and you're fully covered there, I think. Okay, like I said, my one had that slight little bit of distortion, just a little bit, and I was thinking, oh, we'll put this board in, let's hope that distortion's gone. I don't want the same thing, because these circuits are very, very similar, and I think he's using a very, very similar circuit to this as well. Going back to this chip, if you look around the internet, a lot of people, well, say a lot, a few people, say that this chip is a different one from, on the playback side than it is on the record side. It's two different chips, and there's a few sites that do two different circuits, one for the record part of the machine and one for the playback. Two slightly different, few different values of the resistors, etc. on the playback side compared to the record side. And some people say, no, that's because there's two different chips. But I've been looking about, and these are all pretty much labelled up the same. On there, it's LD3141. Some of them have got a few different symbols, but in the machine, on my two machines, all four chips are exactly the same. They're 341, and I think it's got an X on one machine, and I think it's an L or something on the other machine, or one next to it on the other machine. But all four chips are exactly the same. They're all labelled up exactly the same. And I would have thought, I'm pretty much convinced that all the chips in the machine, if they're on the playback side of the circuit or the record side of the circuit, they're exactly the same chip. They're no different, even though there's different circuits going about if you want to make up the chip yourself for the record side and the playback side. So I'm pretty much sure these are exactly the same chips. I can't see Sanyo doing two different chips, one for the record and one for the playback side, and calling them both exactly the same. So when they get down the other end at Akai or anyone else that's using them, what could possibly go wrong if they're labelled up exactly the same, yet one of them is supposed to be for the playback side and one of them is supposed to be back, for the record side of it. So I should imagine this is exactly the same chip on the record and on the playback. So make your own mind up maybe, but there is a few people out there I think that are convinced that they're two different chips. I just want to mention that because if you buy this kit or you make up a kit yourself, then you may want to slightly, you may think I'm going to have to slightly alter it if it's the record part I'm swapping it over with, or the playback I'm swapping it over with. And this bloke only does the one kit on the eBay, this Real to Real UK, only does the one kit, and it's for playback and record, it's for both sides, and he says he's had no problems there. And just to prove it, I actually put it in the playback and on the record side of my unit. It's in the record side now, and both sounded absolutely fine. There was that distortion had gone from the record side. There's absolutely no distortion on the playback or the record side. It worked 100% perfect, to the extent that I couldn't tell the difference between the original chip and this little board that I fitted from the Real to Real UK. They're both, it sounded exactly the same. The only difference I had to do was just alter the record level, the record input level on the record side just slightly, and when I put it back in the playback side, I just had to adjust the playback just very slightly as well, the actual control for the playback that's on the side of here, the little pots, just had to adjust that very slightly to get them level again. So it's probably just got a little bit more gain or a little bit less gain than the original chip, but only slightly. So it's just a little slight adjustment you may have to do there when fitting each chip. And that was pretty much the same when fitting my chip as well. I did have to adjust that record and playback level as well. So and I did try this on the record where I got that slight distortion, and also in the play part I still got that slight distortion. So there's something on this board that didn't agree with this machine. It's just probably a few values you've got to tinker around with to get it perfect. Is it worth all the hassle? No. These kits are better, and obviously if you can get hold of the same, the proper chip still as a brand new unit, which they do come up as from time to time brand new, then get the chip, I think, because it's been sitting in there 50 years. It may have been 40 years later that it's gone intermittent and noisy. So if you buy a brand new chip like this, it's going to last you another 30 or 40 years before it goes intermittent and noisy. And who's to say how long this bloke's board's going to last? It could last another 30 or 40 years. So I'd recommend putting the original chip in there if you can get hold of one, maybe, because it's got it's not going to last 5 minutes. It's going to last a good amount of years, I would have thought, even though they do go noisy or intermittent over a period of time. So if you get a new chip, then probably that's the best way to go. If you can't, then this little replacement board I can highly recommend from Real to Real UK. It does the job and it does work perfectly. So there you go. So that's it. It's quite a long-winded video really, I think, just to let you know that this chip works from this bloke selling it on eBay, but it could be important to someone who wants to replace one of these little chips. I think I've rattled on long enough now, didn't you, today? Okay, that's it. So we're going to put this aside for a little while now. We're going to change the meters at some stage, but we're going to come back with a few other bits and pieces in the meantime. So I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Seems fine. Keeping our 2 bits. Then we're going to go to number 5. You can see number 5. Take them off of there. Bend it over. Find number 5 on the board. Just going to show you this actually. As you can see, all the board is labelled up. Hopefully you can see that. Bring it a bit nearer. Let's get a bit of light on it maybe. Take a picture of it anyway. The number 5 is nicely labelled up. We're going to turn that over. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Just double check that. It looks fine. Keeping our offcuts. Right, now we've got number 6. There's number 6. And as you can see, it's not that clear on that 6 there, but lucky enough we got both ends and it's nice and clear. Hopefully you can see there. Number 6 on this end. So we'll find number 6 on the board. Which is just here. I'm going to push that in. And we're going to solder number 6 so I can get a decent angle. This solder is about the same thickness as the actual pins. It's quite thin solder. There you go. Cut these pins. And we've got our last resistor, and the board is nearly finished. Just got the this is number 7. And number 7 goes in here. That's it. That's number 7. Okay, so we're going to start with the component side up the top, and we're told that this is pin 1 at the front. So I've just literally just bent it. I pushed it in there and just bent it slightly. That pin, that lead, should I say? And we're going to apply a little bit of solder to it. Hopefully you can see that. There you go, that's this side, that's the first pin connected. I'll just show you what I did. I'm going to keep these the long part of the pins that come off the resistors. You're going to get a short lead and a long lead coming off the resistors, because obviously a lead is still attached doing the loop. So this is the long lead I'm using. So what I'm going to do is just, some of them are slightly longer than others as well, maybe just slightly, ever so slightly. It's just actually, you can see, I'm just going to push it in there, just so it pokes through the other side. I can feed it through the other side and just bend it then, like that. But obviously that's in the wrong position. This is actually pin 3. We're going to go 1, then 3. We're going to skip an hole to number 3. So if we do like that, if I lay it flat, it's going to pop back out actually. So the fluff of the circuit of the mat, but that's near enough. And what we'll do, we'll trim all them pins dead level at the end, I think, just to make our job maybe just a little bit easier. So if we come in here now, number 3, we've skipped an hole. We're going to 1. This is number 3. That's in there like that. Not too much solder, but enough. So we skipped one. Hopefully you'll see it in the thing anyway. But we skipped one. We've gone 1, then number 3. We're going to get another long piece. This is going to be number 5, pin 5. And again, I'm going to push it through in pin 5 position, just to the other side. Bend it over. Just try and straighten it out just a tad like that. Straighten the solder up a bit. There we go. And these pins are near enough the same length. They're just slightly out a millimetre or two, so I may just do them so they're all the same length. So that's pin number 5 done. Just space them out a little bit. We'll do it all later on anyway. So we've got one more here. No, we haven't got 2 more here. We've got number 7 and number 9. So it's going with number 7. We're going to skip one, push it through, and just bend it over. And just straighten it out a tad. So they're in line. Looks okay. We can straighten it out after it's been soldered. So it's a bit awkward me getting in here and showing you at the same time. That's that one in now. Just got one more pin. So we're going to take, like say, a long piece. We're going to push it through just a little bit, just so it comes out the other side, and bend it over. And that's how much it is. Something like that, probably 4 or 5 millimeters. There you go. It's probably actually 3 or 4 millimeters, but to get the general gist, just going to straighten up again. Push it over. That's that. So there they'll just straighten up just slightly. We'll have to do some alterations on the other side. And there you can see my pins on this side of the board just poking through, and now they're on that side of the board actually soldered. So what we're going to do is flick it over now, and we're going to solder the other side to here. So I'm not too sure what we've got left here. We've got a couple of long ones and some quite short ones actually have been left. Yeah, so let's just lift that up. How short are these? These are quite short, these pins here. So if I was to push that through there, right, I'm going to use this. I'm not too sure how much room we're going to have on the board, but this is what you're going to be left with. You're going to be left with 2 long pins and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7 shorter pins. So yeah, you're going to have 2 longer pins and 2 shorter pins. So I'll take it we're going to have enough room to push this in the board with the pins we've got left. So let's go in and we'll solder this first pin here. Skip my soldering iron. So let's come in here. Just going to straighten it up now. put a tad more solder on it. That's it. Okay, so as you can see there now, hopefully we've got some long pins. The 5 we use on the other side are long, and we're going to use what's left over, the short pins on this side, shorter. So let's zoom in, find the longest one possible out of the short ones we've got left. Pretty much the same. I'm going to poke it through just slightly, enough just to get it through, then bend it over. We've done that there, just need to put it in position somewhere like that. We can always do that once we soldered it, we can always move it in position. So let's just give myself a bit of room here. Come in again with the soldering iron. The trouble is you can't see what I'm doing, that's the only problem. I'm going to move the camera, I think, onto this other side. Let's just move the camera here. Oops, so don't fall over. Sorry about that. Let's just move the camera. I'm hoping you can maybe see a bit more that's happening here. So I'm going to get one of my shorter pins. I've lost it. It's so short. Where is it? Where are we? There we go. I'm going to push it in. Just enough so it pops out the other side. And this is even shorter, this one. Quite short on this one. Got something a bit longer. We haven't, have we? No. So what I may do is actually use the 2. I've still got 2 long ones left over. I may use them because these shorter ones are a little bit short for some reason. So that's in position like so. I can bend it round once I've soldered it. That's that. I'm going to cut that to the same length as the other ones. There we go. Right, we've just got one more to do. I'm going to use another long one again that we had left over. Just going to bend it over. That's that. I'm just going to cut it to the same size. That's it. So that is our board now done. That's the top side. Hopefully you can see that all right. And that's the rear. And hopefully you're going to get how these leads actually look. Just going to straighten them out, get them all the same length. So when I poke them through, they should all fit. So I'm just going to snip a little bit off these long ones. They're all the same length now, all these short ones. Just slightly longer, these 2. That's it, they're all the same length as well. So we've got all the pins. Whoops, I've bent that one, quite easy to bend. I'm just going to straighten that one out a little bit. But we're going to have to do this when we put it anyway. Probably going to have to push a few closer to each other. But there you go, that's the board completed, and we're going to stick it in there and see what happens.